while robing as an acolyte, you need to be able to tie your cincture. First thing you do with the cincture is you create a hole on one side. There we are. Then you drop the other side through the hole and pull tightly. If your cincture is too long and is dragging around by your feet, you can tuck it back in so that it hangs higher up and you don't trip over it. Now first, before we say anything else, you need to know what the word cincture means. Cincture is a word that means tied together. It's where we get our word synchronize. It's where we get the abbreviation sync. So to tie your cincture is to sync up with God. As the organist is finishing the prelude, the cross and the two torches will line up outside the front door of the church. They will line up like this and wait for the opening hymn.
Okay, ready?
As the opening hymn plays, you wait until the people in the pews are actually singing and then begin to move. Do not let your torch, if you are a torchbearer, get too close to the hair of the acolyte in front of you. It will burn.
Try not to trip over the carpet.
Yes, try not to trip over the carpet. And also, as you are walking in, those who are carrying the torches, even if you are of different heights, try to keep the torches at the same height together. You walk at a deliberate pace, you don't need to rush, and you don't need to go so slowly that you drag the hymn. So move at a deliberate but not hurried pace. Okay, once the cross reaches the end of the aisle and is right at the entrance to the sanctuary, the cross stops. But the crucifer is not supposed to sneeze. But if you do, that's okay.
Or torchbearers laugh.
Or torchbearers laugh, for that matter, yes. Then the torchbearers will go around the cross, and the cross will remain. During the program year from September to May, the choir will follow behind, bow at the altar, and go over to the choir loft, and then will be followed by the lay readers and clergy. Once the clergy enter the sanctuary, then the cross will move to the assigned seat. Putting away the cross first. There you go.
Okay. The gradual hymn will be playing, and it's good for the crucifer and the server to keep an eye on whoever's over here. And whoever is here will all be standing and singing, okay? And whoever is here will nod to you when it's time to go. Or the priest who's sitting next to you may get nervous and nudge you and say, "Go!" And then you surprise the people over here. That's just how it works. Okay. And
so once we start,
okay. 2 torches. We will take the book, as we did, and follow them out. And she will lead us 4 or 5 pews down. Right. And you notice the torches are lighting the book. Even though it's bright in here, it wasn't in the cathedrals of the old days or some of the other dark places. Okay, you've got the book. Thank you. Person who's reading it will open it and elevate it and say, "The Holy Gospel of our Lord Jesus Christ according to Luke." And then you just hold the book, and hopefully the person has warned you if there's a page turn. Because if you're holding tight, it'll be difficult to turn the page. Okay? She or he finishes reading the Gospel and says, "The Gospel of the Lord." Then the server and whoever read the Gospel will stand aside.
And the cross will
lead us back.
The cross leads everyone back.
And just as when you were exiting the sanctuary, you do not have to reverence the altar because you have Jesus. And the book goes right back on the altar on the side.
And the crucifer, as usual, waits for everybody to go by and then puts away the cross. Okay, at the offertory, first the crucifer will go and get the baskets that are underneath the credence table. It's kind of a funny name, isn't it? Credence table. And then the torchbearers will go with the crucifer to greet the ushers who are coming forward with the bread and wine. The torchbearers receive the bread and wine and take it to the altar, where the deacon or priest will be setting the table, and the crucifer gives the baskets to the usher who distributes them to the people. Here we go. The crucifer comes forward to receive the offering at the end of receiving the offering. She does not take any of the money herself out of the offering. Otherwise, well, kind of like that. We don't want that. But she does bring the money to the altar for the priest or deacon who is there, and it is placed on the altar to signify our gifts to God, which I think now the deacon stole. At the closing hymn, all the acolytes stand and sing the hymn with vigor. And usually by the second verse, yes, that's vigor. Usually by the second verse, it's time to depart. The crucifer goes to get the cross. The torches get their torches. And they go out and stand at the foot of the sanctuary. Now, during the program year from September to May, they are to wait there until the choir is almost on top of them. When the choir is very, very close to the torch, then they turn, and the choir will follow them out. After the choir comes the server, who is now placed with many of the clergy, because in a sense he is a sub-deacon serving at the altar. He will be followed by the deacon, and then the deacon will be followed by an archdeacon if there is one, who will be followed by a priest, who would then be followed by a canon if there was one, who would then be followed by a bishop if there was one. We are still a hierarchical church. During the gospel procession, the torches have to be very, very careful about not letting their hair get too close to the torch. It has been known to happen that some torches have caught their hair on fire. Be sure the torch is not close to your hair. You will notice that the wine and the bread are already at the altar. It is the job of the server to assist in finishing this job. The first thing that the deacon or priest will need who's setting the table is water. So you get the water, remove the cap, hand it to the deacon or priest, who will then add the water to both the wine that's in the cup as well as the wine that's in the cruet, and will return the water to you. Then, as the priest prepares to say the Eucharist, it is the job of the server to wash the priest's hands. And we'll have our deacon stand in for a priest. Notice that Aiden is putting the towel over his left arm and holding the bowl with his left hand and pouring with his right. You are right-handed, right, Aiden? Yes. If you are left-handed, you can do it the opposite way. Don't be afraid to pour the water. It's just water. If it splashes and gets on the floor and on things, it's just water. The symbolism here is the cleanliness of the person offering at the altar, not their own, but God's. During the distribution of communion, the server will stand ready with consecrated wine, either from the altar or from the tabernacle, which is that box over there where we put consecrated wine and bread. Cricket may tell you that go get Jesus out of the box if we need more wine or bread. And you stand ready with the wine to pour for anybody who's serving wine who has run out. They will come to you and you will pour them wine. Be sure to dab at your cruet after you poured the wine so you don't get any drops on the floor. When lighting the candles, do not walk fast with your lighter, because if you walk too fast, it will blow out. You light first the candle to the right of the altar, and then you light the candle to the left of the altar. Then you pull on the little handle on the side to put your fire out. But please remember to push the handle back up so that the wick is sticking very far out, because any melted wick will clog the inside of the lighter, and we don't want that to happen. So push it out even more. That's good. That's perfect. Otherwise, the insides will clog and we'll never get it loose. To snuff out the candles, simply use the snuffer. You don't have to push down hard, just enough for the light to go out. If you push down too hard, it will mash the wick, and the next person will not be able to light the candles because the wick will be mashed down too far. You go about down to the end of the brass follower, and that usually is enough to extinguish the candle.